everyone. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to TJ Speaks. Today is Sunday, May 28th, year 2023. I am very happy and fortunate for everyone to be joining me and appreciate your ear. Okay, so today's show, we will be discussing using slavery as your ticket to America. Hmm, Interesting. This topic is very deep. We're going to get into a very deep conversation today. Um, this is the information that is basically hidden from most of the American population. This is the topic that no one wants you to discuss here in America. The land of the free speech refuses the citizens from discussing what's really going on in our country and why our country is in such disarray. Okay, so let's get into this. Right. First thing I want to discuss is how birthright citizenship was taught wrong on purpose. You hear a lot of people, uh, people like President Trump and other scholars discussing, and anytime that Newsweek article discussed of Kamala Harris's citizenship and challenging her right to become the vice president. Um, First thing we got to understand is that the media and the globalists are in it together. Okay, big education is in it together. Okay, so let's get into it. 14th Amendment. 14th Amendment was written for the freed slaves, the newly freed slaves of America. It was necessary to write the 14th Amendment, actually the 13th, 14th, and the 15th Amendment, post-Civil War, to address what do we do as a country with the freed slaves um, in response to the Civil War and also as in response to the Dred Scott decision. Um, the Dred Scott decision, in that decision, very, very critical to understand, Dred Scott was a slave. He and his master moved to another state. It was a free state. I forget which one because I'm going off the top of my head. Okay, he had a daughter. Dred Scott had a daughter, and he wanted his daughter to have her freedom, and they denied, of course, his daughter's freedom. And he told the courts, he said, "Wait a minute, my daughter's supposed to be free. She was born on free soil, so she's entitled to freedom." So, make a long story short, the case went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, rightly so, decided that no, Dred Scott's daughter was not entitled to citizenship because her father, Dred Scott, was not a free man. He was not a citizen of the United States. That constitutional rights belong to the citizens. And that's part of the reason why you see all of the leftists, the BLM, the Antifa, wanting to pull the statue, I believe it's Justice Taney, to pull his statue down. Okay, because the truth, they do not want the people to know. Because if you understand the truth behind the miseducation of birthright citizenship, you will understand the globalist agenda. Okay, the globalists want to infiltrate America and have a bunch of people here that are not American citizens growing and proliferating in our society and into our government agencies to disrupt this country and to make sure America do not prosper. That is why it is very imperative for every American citizen, especially Black American citizens, descendants of slaves, to understand how the government has weaponized slavery against the American people. Okay? Okay, so talk about the 14th Amendment. Now, everyone wants to go on about all persons born here are subject to the jurisdiction, blah, 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 blah. But what they're not telling you about that 14th Amendment, right, is that 14th Amendment is not canceling or does not nullify the Naturalization Act. The Naturalization Act is still relevant, it's still on the books, it is still required of immigrants. Okay? That's what's not being told to you. They want you to focus on the text of the Constitution. But we don't even have to go that far to read the sentence over and over again. See, that's a part of the propaganda, to get you to read that one line they keep telling you about, all persons born. But let's talk about the document. The document is a constitution. Who's entitled? The real question is, who's entitled to constitutional rights? It doesn't matter what the text of the Constitution says when you're not entitled to invoke that right. See, that's the question. That's the aspect they don't want you to pay attention to. The real question is, and this is the question that was addressed in the Dred Scott case, is who is entitled to invoke constitutional rights. And that has always been, and it has never changed in this country. In this constitutional republic, a republic is a government run by citizens. Constitutional rights belong to U.S. citizens. It is not something that you visit a country. Think about what they're telling us. Think about what they really try to convince us. Hey, I'm on vacation in your country, and I automatically get constitutional rights. Well, that's where you, the American person, the citizen, needs to hit them back and let them know. Well, who gave you that right? Did you earn that right? Because the problem is in America here is that we got too many foreign people, because foreign people telling us, the interpretation of our Constitution, which is absolutely ridiculous. If anybody knows the interpretation meaning of the U.S. Constitution is a U.S. citizen. Okay? But I'm going to tell you there's a reason behind all of this. It's the reason why the universities, the media, all right, and mostly the Democrat Party and a lot of rhinos are all together and unified to make sure the people of America, specifically the Black American slave descendants, never realize full equal citizenship in America. There's a reason. They never wanted to give the Black American descendants of slaves citizenship in America. They fought, these groups that I just named, fought the descendants of slaves for over 100 years with Jim Crow to prevent them from achieving equality and citizenship. They even went so far as opening our borders, allowing foreign people to come in just to try to prove that your citizenship, what Lincoln did, what Frederick Douglass did was nothing. Well, whatever you get, and I know a lot of Black people listen to me have heard this before. Whatever you get, we got to give to everybody. Whatever you get, we got to get to everybody. But if you're a citizen, how are you everybody? How are you equivalent citizen to someone that's an illegal immigrant? See, that's the racism. That's the hidden racism. It's not because they're kind. They're extending birthright citizenship to illegal immigrants and people that as non-citizens, all right, refugees and asylum seekers. They're not a citizen status. There is no constitutional rights for them. They're in a mercy status, but they're not a citizen status. Therefore, they're not entitled to the Constitution. As per Dred Scott, as per the Immigration and Naturalization Act, that has not been nullified or reversed. Okay? They are doing this on purpose to dilute the black vote. You see, the mastermind came about maybe around 65 with the Immigration Act of 1965, where the Democrats got this immigration bill where they give out all these visas, increased number of visas from all around the world without the increased enforcement. Because they knew people from third world countries, people from poor countries, going to get their visa, come here, claim to study in college, and never leave. If you don't have enforcement, why are you increasing the visas? It doesn't make any sense. But it does in a way. It makes a lot of sense. If you're the Democrat Party and it's 1964, and the black people that you harassed with Jim Crow and you harassed with KKK, hanging the black people, lynching the black people, bombing they rallies, killing Martin Luther King, killing Malcolm X. It makes a lot of sense that you don't want these black citizens to actually vote and hold you accountable. So what's the plan? Flood the country with immigrants of color so they could blend in and look like the American citizens. Have your universities down on the deal too, because let's not forget, the universities, Harvard, Stanford, and the rest of them had slaves. They all was a part of the slave trade. So they have a direct investment and interest in making sure the black vote does not hold them accountable. So they teach this propaganda that birthright citizenship is for everybody, which is a complete lie. It has never been true because they know constitutional rights. Birthright citizenship is a constitutional right, and U.S. constitutional rights have always belonged to U.S. citizens. And they also know that Lincoln freed the slaves and that Congress passed the 13th Amendment granting their citizenship. And so therefore, all the descendants of slaves were born to the free slaves, which they were citizens. We were all born to U.S. citizens. They never gave slaves birthright citizenship. No slave ever had birthright citizenship in this country, as evidenced by the Dred Scott case. He was a slave. He had a child, and they denied his child citizenship because he was not a citizen, and nor was he an immigrant. And that is why Congress had to act on the slave behalf to end slavery once and for all and to make the slaves a citizen because they were not entitled to immigration rights. Being a slave does not entitle you to immigration rights. And so that's why we were special and we needed to have the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendment. Because not only was the slave a slave and considered property, their children and their belly was also considered property. And that is why they specifically added the 14th Amendment to protect the children for all citizens, including the newly freed slaves. That is why the 14th Amendment was written, because we was dealing with a serious Confederate Democrat Party who would stop at nothing to stop the black Americans from prospering in America. A lot of people is going to get miseducated and they slave holding universities. But you have to remember, the slave holding universities have never paid reparations, as well as the U.S. government has never paid reparations. And there's a reason. They have a direct interest in making sure that black vote is diluted. Okay? So it's not that these people suddenly got a conscience. The people that wrote the Jim Crow law, the Democrat Party wrote the Jim Crow law. the Democrat Party established the KKK. They didn't suddenly get a conscience in 1965. Freedom for everybody. It was a direct globalist political agenda to stop the black vote, to stop the black progress. And it worked. Because here we are 60 years later. Black people are doing worse than when they first started. We have less resources. Look at our schools overcrowded. With who? A bunch of illegal immigrants. Why are they making us pay and finance illegal activity? You have to ask yourself that question. Why is American people forced to pay illegal action? These are not nice people. But it's destroying the country right now. It started off with the black people, the hatred for blacks, and now it's just a hatred for America. Because you have a lot of people that's in political office that's not citizens. They're not supposed to be there. And they don't like you very much. That's why we have all this censorship, YouTube. They use all the powers to force you to do what they wish. They're just rearing their ugly Democrat KKK head all over again. But this time, they're going after white people, white Americans, and black Americans. And any other American that's an actual U.S. citizen. You're on their list. You're on their target. And Donald Trump, oh, they really hate him. Because he held the highest office and he told the truth. The rhinos and the Democrats against Donald Trump. President Donald Trump. Because they were shocked. The American people band together. We don't want this globalist agenda. This is not what we want. We want a free country. We want a happy country. We want a country where citizens prosper. And we don't go judging people by their race or their religion. All of this propaganda they are, speaking that, oh, Americans are just so racist. That is promoting a globalist agenda. So there you have it. That is the reason why the 14th Amendment was written. And what the 14th Amendment does not say, because they love to repeat this line, all persons born. What it does not say is all persons are entitled to constitutional rights. And it does not say that this is a nullification of the Naturalization Act. You see, as long as that Naturalization Act is on the books, every immigrant is supposed to get naturalized. And we've already discussed the descendants of slaves, their ancestors were slaves, were not immigrants, which is true according to the law. Slaves and the slave descendants, we're not descendants of immigrants. So therefore, we don't fall under the Immigration and Naturalization Act. Only the immigrants do. So if you are immigrant, you are required by the Constitution, which says the Naturalization Act is the supreme law for immigrants. The 14th Amendment don't give immigrants an option not to get naturalized. That's what they're pulling. That's the scam. Using the 14th Amendment to avoid naturalization and to collect constitutional rights automatically, using slaves, using other people's suffering. Of course they don't respect the American people. Of course they don't respect the descendants of slaves. They just finished using you. Of course. Your slavery was for the purpose of them collecting birthright citizenship. How do you think people will view you? They'll view you as something to step on. Now your slavery, now you become their slave. The same people that don't want to pay reparations, they want you to earn those reparations. How dare you ask for reparations? But they are all lined up and collect birthright citizenship as if they were freed slaves, which is a form of reparations to an immigrant. So they get to bypass the constitutional law that says that's the supreme law. It's in the Constitution, if anyone did to read it. The Naturalization Act is the supreme law for immigrants. And that's their path to getting citizenship rights, not the 14th Amendment. They're using the black people and the black slavery. And it has to come to an end. It will, I believe it will come to an end. People, they can get their feelings hurt all they want, but you hurt my feelings when you use my family slavery to cheat the system. You was not a slave, just like you said. You were not a slave. So why you want to collect birthright citizenship like you were a slave? Okay? And that's pretty much everything. And now, of course, we live in a nightmare situation. We got Biden as president, vice president is Kamala, who is not American because her father came here as a student. You don't get citizen. You cannot immigrate to America as a student. That's not how it works. But they know the American people have been miseducated by the racist, slaveholding universities. What people are not paying attention to is Kamala Harris is telling you this real story. How the government is working against the Black American descendants of slaves. She says it every time. She tells her story. Her mother was a foreign student, and she watched the Black students outside protesting and outside the college that would not let the Black students in. But no one's catching the fact that Kamala Harris' parents were immigrants. They were allowed into college, not the Black students. Why would this country allow immigrants into the college and the university when you have Black American citizens right outside the door, begging to get in, fighting to get in? Kamala Harris' parents was attending universities that Black kids did not have access to until affirmative action. But her family had no problem getting in because the racism is specific towards the descendants of American slaves. It's not a race thing. It's an ethnicity thing and a lineage discrimination. Has nothing to do with color. They don't care what color you are, long as you're not the descendants of American slaves. So I'm going to leave that there. Since this is Memorial Day and I am a descendant of slaves, I have to remember my past so we don't repeat it. Okay? I'm also a descendant of military veterans of every war in this country. American Revolution, Civil War, First War, and every other war ever since. I've always had relatives in the military. So I salute the military. But unfortunately, our government is not on the side of the veterans. And that is a shame, but that is also a consequence of allowing people access to constitutional rights, to birthright citizenship that they're not entitled to, not making people earn their way, earn their naturalization. That is what should be happening. So we can bring everyone in the fold that believes in America, that believes in American values. Okay, we need to weed out the garbage. And through the Naturalization Act, that's how we do it. But allowing everyone to cheat the system, to use slavery, this racism is going to continue because you're using someone else's suffering to benefit yourself, to get self-gain. Nothing's going to end until we get right with the law, with the Constitution. If we're not aligned with the Constitution, this will not be America anymore, any much longer. This will not be America. This will be a land where everyone breaks the law and no one respects the Constitution. Hell, they'll have so many foreign people here, the descendants of foreigners here, that they're going to throw the Constitution out if you don't stop them today. So this Memorial Day, I wish everyone a happy Memorial Day. Those that are descendants of American citizens and U.S. military veterans, I salute you. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy your family. And let's keep this fight up for America. God bless America. And God bless my family here listening to me today. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day.